Well, hello, I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. And of course, I'm still coming to you a little bit later in the evening than usual because I'm still taking over Father Frank's slot. He's still recuperating from his open heart surgery, but I have to tell you, he's doing wonderful, following the doctor's orders to the letter. And he wants to thank you all for all the prayers, good wishes, and cards that we've been receiving here at our office. So thanks. Continue the prayers. And as soon as he gets the green light from his doctors, Father will be back. Well, today's topic, you might be wondering, what is the problem with having the Olympics in China? What's this new controversy that has stirred up? Well, joining me today is an expert on this topic, my dear friend, Reggie Littlejohn, who is the president and founder of Women's Rights Without Frontiers. So, Reggie, welcome to the program.
It's so great to be back and to speak with you, Janet.
I love having you. And of course, I know I call you one of my favorite troublemakers because you're always stirring the pot about something, and especially what goes on in China. Now, recently, I heard you got to testify at a very important hearing. Can you tell us all about that?
Sure, I would be happy to tell you all about that. Okay, so I am one of the founders of a new initiative to move or boycott the Olympic Games in Beijing, and our website is genocidegames.org, genocidegames.org, and I'll mention it at the end of the show as well, because you can sign a petition to move or boycott the games there. We sent a letter to the United States Olympics Committee and to the International Olympics Committee, to President Biden, all kinds of people saying that because China is committing genocide, it does not deserve to host the Olympic Games, and we would like them to be moved. And if they can't be moved, then we are required to boycott under the Genocide Convention. Well, the U.S. Olympics Committee did not respond to our letter directly, but I'll tell you what they did do. They sent a letter to every member of Congress, it's my understanding, saying don't boycott the games. Why would they do that? I think that that was their answer to our letter. And then there was this massive hearing. So the hearing was two committees. It was the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission and the Congressional Executive Commission on China. And it was the Senate and the House. And I was one of maybe 6 people who were witnesses. But the hearing was so important that Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker of the House, herself became a witness. I don't know when she's done that. It's an extremely unusual move. So yes, I testified at the hearing. And then after that, I was interviewed by Raymond Arroyo on the World Over. And I understand you're going to show a clip of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, but first, Reggie, let's just make sure everyone understands. Which Olympics are we talking about? Summer or winter? What year is it going to is it supposed to happen?
Right. So it's the Winter Olympics in Beijing, China in 2022. So just next year. Wow. And they just had an Olympics in 2008. So yeah, so this is coming down on us pretty quickly.
So here's my question. Well, I have initial question is, as far as I understand it, the Olympic Committee and countries bid to have the Olympics scheduled to be in their country or in their city. It's a whole big process. Wasn't this done a couple of years ago for it to be happening next year when they got the actual assignment?
Yes, Janet. I think the bidding for the 22 Winter Olympics was in 2015. That's what I heard from Chris Smith. And see, the reason that we're opposing it is because they're committing genocide in Xinjiang, and that's something I want to talk about more. And they were probably planning, no doubt planning, the genocide against the Uyghur people in Xinjiang as they were bidding for the Olympic Games.
I see. All right. So it was like parallel track. So in other words, you didn't know what they were up to, and they went ahead and got the appointment for the Winter Olympics of 2022, and then they went off on this real bad tangent. So right. Before we go to the clip of you and Chris Smith, explain to us, because I know he and you both use the word genocide a lot. Tell us specifically, what are the examples of this crime or genocide that they're doing in China right now so we understand it?
Okay, so there is an area of China which the Chinese Communist Party calls Xinjiang. It's in like northwest China. The people who live there call it East Turkestan. So the people of that area are not Chinese. They're Turkic. They are Muslim, most of them. So they have nothing to do with China. They share no history with China, and China just basically took them over when they took over. When the Chinese Communist Party took over China, they also took over East Turkestan. And so there are people in East Turkestan that believe that it should be a separate country. So the Chinese Communist Party calls them splitists and terrorists, and they have used that to commit genocide there. So what genocide means is the intentional destruction of a people that are separate ethnic, race, or religion, either in whole or in part. And so the way that they're doing this is very systematic. So they have put into what they call re-education centers. We call them concentration camps, between 1 and 3 million Uyghur people. And one of the main reasons that they put people in these internment camps is because they have too many children. So the Uyghurs have been allowed to have 3 children because they're an ethnic minority. And then when China established the one-child policy, not only did they not do away with forced abortion, but they committed more forced abortion against the Uyghur people. And they used the excuse that a family had 3 children to say that they are religious extremists. Anybody who believes that the fetus is a gift from God, the Chinese Communist Party says, is a religious extremist. So that would include, I think, just about everybody watching this program. We would all be called religious extremists. So they take the parents, they put them into a concentration camp, and then they remove the children from them and put them into a boarding school where they are indoctrinated to believe that basically the Chinese Communist Party is God. And then there were some horrific, very just blockbuster reports that came out towards the middle and the end of 2020 from several sources. One was Radio Free Asia, one was Adrian Zenz, one was the Associated Press, where people who had escaped Xinjiang were talking about rampant forced abortion, forced sterilization, infanticide, systematic rape. And I can go into more detail about all this, but they are selectively enforcing the 2-child policy in Xinjiang, and the birth rate there has plummeted in some areas by as much as 80%, whereas they're encouraging the Han Chinese in the main part of China to have more kids. So Secretary of State Pompeo, he declared that this is genocide on his last day in office. And to his credit, new Secretary of State Blinken has confirmed that designation. So this is not something that's like a Republican versus Democrat. This is not a partisan issue. Nancy Pelosi herself testified that they are committing genocide. The difference is that she wants a diplomatic boycott where only the diplomats from the United States would not attend, whereas I and others believe that there should be a full boycott if the Olympics cannot be moved.
Right. Okay, so you know what, Reggie, let's take a look now at the clip. You and there's a little bit of Nancy Pelosi and Chris Smith. You were on the World Over, our great friends at EWTN, Raymond Arroyo's show. So let's take a look at that quick clip now.
Here's what I propose, and join those who are proposing, is a diplomatic boycott for heads of state to go to China in light of a genocide that is ongoing while you're sitting there in your seats. It really begs the question, what moral authority do you have to speak again about human rights any place in the world?
That was Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Tuesday calling for a U.S. diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. To discuss the growing momentum of an Olympic boycott against China, we're joined by U.S. Congressman Chris Smith of New Jersey, who co-chaired the hearing on the topic this week, and Reggie Littlejohn, founder and president of Women's Rights Without Frontiers, who testified. Thank you both for being here. Congressman Smith, China, in response to the call for a diplomatic boycott, is saying Pelosi is full of lies and false information. Your idea, and whether you think a diplomatic boycott is a cop-out.
Well, I don't think diplomatic is strong enough. It's not commensurate with the gravity of a genocide against an entire people, the people of Xinjiang, the Muslim Uyghurs, and the Kazakhs. It's the most horrific thing we've seen. 1 to 3 million people in concentration camps, the use of forced abortion and forced sterilization to bring the numbers of children down, the kidnapping of their children and raising them in a non-Uyghur setting. This is outrageous. It's Xi Jinping, the dictator of China, that's doing it. It's his idea. So I think we need a penalty that comports with the gravity of the heinous crime, and then add Hong Kong and all the other human rights abuses that have been worsened under Xi Jinping. There needs to be a change of venue, move it to another city. It could be done if there's the political will. The IOC ought to do that, and we ought to be pushing for it as a country, and others should join us, or just boycott it. You can't go to this is 1936 and the Nazis all over again.
Reggie, you testified to Congress calling for the boycott of the Winter Olympics, saying China's violating the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. How so?
Well, okay, as Congressman Smith just outlined, they are committing genocide against the Uyghur people. That has been established by Secretary of State Pompeo, and it has been affirmed by Blinken. So this is a bipartisan agreement that they are committing genocide. They are systematically killing and destroying the culture of the Uyghur people. So in 1948, in response to Hitler's genocide, there were 150 nations got together to condemn the crime of genocide, saying that they will undertake to prevent and punish anyone who commits genocide. We are signatories to that convention, and therefore we are contractually bound under international law to prevent and punish genocide. And as Congressman Smith said, I think that a diplomatic boycott is not strong enough given the gravity of the genocide and the other atrocities that they are committing, such as 400 million forced abortions under the one-child policy and the many other grave crimes against humanity that they are committing.
Congressman, the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee submitted a written statement to the hearing acknowledging oppression of the Uyghur population, but they added past Olympic boycotts have failed to achieve political ends, and they should give all of us pause in considering another boycott. I want both of you to react to that, starting with Congressman Smith.
Sure. Past boycotting certainly has had an impact, but in this case, we are talking about a genocide and assault on all religious belief, including Christians, Tibetan Buddhists, Falun Gong, Muslim Uyghurs. It's called Sinitization, part of it. It is Xi Jinping, again, the mastermind behind all of this, who wants all faiths to grovel before him and his Chinese Communist Party, and to take out whole books of the Bible, passages, and then to completely run roughshod over even the officially recognized Catholic Patriotic Church or the Protestant Church. I mean, it is the worst thing. This is like Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution happening right before our eyes. And we have all of these corporate sponsors like Coca-Cola, Visa, who are going to make money hand over fist, continue their access to China because they are so complicit in this. I will be doing a second hearing. I chaired this one and put it together. We're going to do another one where we'll invite the corporate sponsors, and that the IOC or the U.S. affiliate would not come and testify. I mean, they could have done it by, on Zoom or WebEx very easily, but they don't want to answer the hard questions. Added to this, and this is very important, all of the planning for this genocide happened concurrently at the exact same time as they were getting the Olympics awarded to them in 2015. They pledged to the Olympic Committee that they would follow human rights norms. We can't get any kind of transparency about what does that mean? Where is that written? They have not told us, because it is a farce. And when you talk about the man or woman who's being tortured, or the child inside one of their concentration camps, they have little patience for those kinds of niceties. This is a brutal dictatorship, and we should not be aiding and abetting such a dictatorship. Move to another place.
Wow. Boy, oh boy, Reggie. It's heating up, isn't it? So, people are watching right now. Some of them might be saying, what can we do? Okay. Because a lot of people avidly watch the Olympics. I know I enjoy them. I especially love the ice skating. It's one of my favorite. So what can the average person do right now to help push the needle? I mean, my first thought, Chris mentioned corporate sponsors like Coca-Cola. What if people started writing letters to Coca-Cola as a corporate sponsor of the Olympics saying the things like you're saying, that China is committing genocide? We are begging to have the Olympics moved out of China. We would like to know if you would support doing that. I mean, would that help if there was like a letter writing campaign from the average person out there?
Well, sure, it would help. But what is easier to do and would have maybe an equal impact would be for people to go on the new website that we have launched, which is genocidegames.org. Genocidegames.org. I don't know if you can put a picture of that, on this video, but there is a petition there. And last time I looked, we had about 1,500 signatures. We need, 100,000 signatures, and it would be a huge help to us. It'd be a huge help to us if you would go on to genocidegames.org and sign that petition to move the Olympic Games. Now, in terms of watching the Olympic Games, if they in fact happen in Beijing, I'm not going to watch them. And Janet, just like you, I love the ice skating. I love the figure skating. I love the couples. I love the downhill skiing. I mean, but you don't have to watch it. You can watch it on YouTube later. You know what I'm saying? That would still get the point across. Like if their viewership is down and therefore they are not getting the revenue that they were thinking they were going to get from their advertisements, I think that would be a good thing. And if you watch it later on YouTube, that doesn't help them any. So I that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to watch the games, but I will watch my favorite events perhaps on YouTube. So that's what I think people can do. But please go on to genocidegames.org and sign our petition.
Oh, absolutely. When this show is over, I'm going right to my computer and I'm signing that petition. And I'm going to make this like a to-do thing. And I'm going to keep reminding my viewers and my Facebook friends and all the people to go to genocidegames.org and let's all sign this petition, because you're right. First of all, on our streaming and our Facebook, we get people from other countries too. And so maybe there needs to be an outcry in other countries, make people aware that, hello, you're going to the Olympics. You need to voice your opposition to having it in China because of what's going on there. I think the more noise we can make, even on social media, probably the better, because it's kind of like just waking everyone up. And if we can't get it moved, then I'm telling you, I too will not watch the Olympics. I will boycott it. And I'll be telling everybody every day on Facebook why I'm not watching the Olympics when it happens. But I'm going to hope and pray. Like, come on, Reggie, it's only June, right? The Olympics happen, I think, in February of 2022. So right. I think we have a pretty good chance that if enough pressure was brought to bear, I think we can possibly, because you know what I'm thinking? I remember how this works. When a city, usually when there's cities vying for the bid, this happened, as Chris said, back in 2015, and you said it. There was more than one city that was in like the runner, like there was a first place, and then who was the runner-up? I say go back and give it to the runner-up city. The thing is, they have to do it pretty soon because hosting the Olympics is a big deal. And many countries, what they do is they build extra stuff to support what's going to happen there, right? Because I know we've had the Olympics here in America, and there's great ski resorts end up staying behind after the Olympics leave because money gets poured in to create, the best atmosphere. So I know that some people might say, oh, we have a lot of time right now. We don't have a lot of time. We've got to push hard now during the month of June. The pressure has got to be brought to bear now so that, and we should say, just give it to the second place. Whatever country was vying with China for the bid, give it to the second place country and then say to China, when you stop the genocide, we'll reconsider you for a future Olympics. To me, that's the simple way to do it, no?
Yeah, or the other thing that can be done is that cities that already have an infrastructure could step up to the plate. So, for example, we did have the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, and another thing that people can do, if there's anybody from Utah or anybody who has connections to the government in Utah, let me know, or write to them yourself and say, would you please consider, offering to host the Olympics? And this does require an international outcry. So it's interesting because our petition has signatories from many countries. I mean, quite a few different countries. And yes, I think that this hearing that Chris Smith chaired went out all over the world. And my hope is that other nations will hold similar hearings and will sponsor legislation to boycott the Olympics.
Right. Now, Chris mentioned that he wants to have another hearing, and it sounded like he's going to get all the corporate sponsors supposedly to come and talk about it. So that's Coca-Cola, Visa. I'm sure there's others, right?
Oh, there's a whole list of them, and you can go on Wikipedia and just look up who are the official. I think Snickers is one. I don't want to say anybody else, because if I get it wrong, they're not going to be happy if I name them in this context. So what I'm saying is, yes, he all of these companies, or maybe the majority of them, have something on their websites where they say that they care about human rights and that they support human rights. So what Chris Smith's idea is to bring them in before Congress and say, look, you say that you care about human rights. Why are you sponsoring this Olympics now that you know that they're committing genocide? I mean, we can understand if you signed up for it in 2015 before their genocide was taking effect, but now that it's been officially declared twice by the first, the Trump administration, and also by Blinken under the Biden administration, why are you continuing to support this? And how do you reconcile this support of the what we call the genocide games with your statement that you care about human rights? I think that that's going to be a great hearing.
Yeah. Well, and you know what it is? This is really a bipartisan issue, which I'm so thrilled that it is. This is not, like you said before, Republican or Democrat. This is a human rights issue. That's really what this is about. And something, if you look, I just came across this yesterday, and it's driving me crazy now, because if you go on most websites of most companies, right, and you look, like, yes, I was on Trader Joe's making a comment because I want them to build a Trader Joe's where I live. The nearest one's an hour away. But that they have, one of the things they boldly put on their website is, we are for diversity and inclusion. And as you know, those are big buzzwords right now here in America. Everything is about diversity and inclusion. Mm-hmm. Well, for goodness sakes, China is not practicing diversity and inclusion. So it should be easy to shift the public opinion here and outrage to, look what China's doing, right?
Right. So this is, to me, this is similar to South Africa and apartheid. And South Africa was banned. Their athletes were banned from competing in the Olympics for 24 years because of apartheid. Wow. So why not for genocide? Okay, I want to know how many. So with under apartheid, the black athletes were not allowed to compete. So I want to know from China, how many Uyghurs athletes do you have competing? How many Tibetan athletes? How many Southern Mongolian athletes? How inclusive are you? So I think that not only that should the Olympics be moved or boycotted, but if they go forward, I think China should be banned, just the way that South Africa was for 24 years.
Perfect. Well, Reggie, we are going to be on your team now. So it's genocidegames.org. Brothers and sisters, you got to go there now. As soon as the program ends, let's all sign that petition. And then here's a homework assignment for you. After you sign the petition, get at least 10 other family and friends to do so, and keep going. And then let each person get 10 more. It's like that's how you do it. I invite, each one reach one. You sign it, and then get a whole bunch of other people to sign it too. So, Reggie, thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure. I know I'm going to have you back soon because there's so much going on in China that we have to be aware of. So I'll be having you back soon. So thanks, and God bless.
God bless you, Janet.
Well, brothers and sisters, like I said, this is our assignment now. When the show's over, go to genocidegames.org. Let's all sign that petition. Let's pray about this, because it is, like Reggie said, apartheid. South Africa couldn't play in the Olympics for 24 years because of that. They were banned. So come on. This is a very simple thing that we could all raise our voices for justice and for the people there that are being persecuted. So thank you for joining me on Just Ask Janet, and God bless you, and tune in again next time. Thank you.
I will be silent no